See, I'm starting to understand why people want remakes. You're probably saying to yourself, well, you talked about remakes before, but now I want to talk about why remakes really happen. And I'm talking about why they wind up happening. You know, because here's why. Not a lot of people appreciate classics. Yeah. Just not a lot of people appreciate classics nowadays. They don't want to watch classics because some people are like,
oh, that's so old. That's so 30 years ago. That's so 40 years ago. Why we gotta watch it?
yeah. How some people want to always complain that, oh, it's an old movie. Why do we have to watch an old movie? Why do we even have to watch old movies in the first place? You know, it's like, you know, I used to get a lot of this in high school. Because I used to watch a lot of classic movies. And I mean a lot of classic movies. Like Star Wars, a lot of 80s movies, a lot of 90s movies. And yeah, the kids were always like, that's so old, Alex. Why do you have to watch so many old movies so many times? And yet, that's what sickens me about some people today. Let me turn the AC on. That's what sickens me about people today, because their excuse is, oh, it's old, we don't have to watch the classics. Yeah. People don't appreciate classics. The response is either this.
It's so old and boring. I want a new one. Now!
Yeah. That's what most kids are like nowadays. They don't want to watch the classics, they want to watch something that's new. Yeah. But here's what I can say to some of you guys. Where you think new gets the old from? Yeah, some people act like, you know, where do people get their reference from? Because here's what you guys don't understand. People get their references in new movies from old movies. Think about that. Now, of course, people can have their doubts. And of course, people can say, you know, I mean, I know a lot of people know that I'm against them remaking The Crow, which they have found their new Crow actor. Let's just see how long that lasts. But I know a lot of people have asked me, why do you care so much about them remaking The Crow? Well, because the first Crow's a classic. It's a classic. You don't need to keep making... Now, you know the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. No. But here's another thing. Some people like to always say, now I remember watching a movie when I was working at AMC, and this is what I remember. This was during the year when the new Lion King came out, and I swear to you, I wanted to pulverize this person. This person who's, when they had the stupid Maria Menounos goddamn annoying ass lady pop up, you know, talking about the new Lion King, how where it gets its references from the old Lion King. This kid, I swear to you, I wanted to pulverize him. His first response is,
no one cares about the old Lion King anymore.
Excuse me? Excuse me! I wanted to pulverize this kid. And I mean pulverize! Straight up skull fuck this kid! But no, I decided to be an adult. I decided to hold my knuckle sandwich to this kid's skull. I'm like, first thing I want to say to this kid is like, boy, you are ignorant. You are ignorant as a motherfucker. But either way, you know, some people, they're like, oh, we don't need to watch the old, you know, films. We don't need to watch them. We just need to watch the newer films. Blah, 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 blah. But it is surprising how some people did say they didn't like the new Lion King, but most majority of the people said they loved the new Lion King. But either way, older films. Now let's take certain older films like, of course, Disney. Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. This is still a classic. I still watch this. I still watch the old Beauty and the Beast movies. Well, this one. I don't really watch the other ones, the other animated ones, but, you know, I can really care less about those. But all I'm just trying to say is, you know, this is still a classic. I still watch this. And it still brings me back to my frightening things I used to watch when I was a kid. Once frightening things I used to watch when I was a kid. Yeah. But all I'm just trying to say, guys, is this is still a classic, but the newer one, I don't care what anybody tries to convince me. I don't care what you try to say to me. I don't care what you even think about saying, try to convince or say to me. I fucking hate the newer one. I fucking hate it. It is bullshit. It's garbage. It's one of the worst live action Disney animated movies. Now, if you're one of those people who love it, I'm sorry. That's my opinion. But yeah, but most people don't appreciate how hand-drawn animation was back in the day. Hand-drawn animation was literally the best thing that 2D animation could be. Now, hold on now, we have newer films, such as this.
Pussy.
I will knock your ass out.
So now 2D animation has gone to 3D animation, or either way. All I'm just trying to say is, you know, people do appreciate, you know, the new 2D animation stuff, or sorry, I say 3D animation stuff that we now get. And yeah, is 2D dead? Well, no, they're still using it in TV shows and other things, like Disney Plus TV shows, animated TV shows, or whatever. But all I'm just trying to say is, most people just don't appreciate, you know, the original Beauty and the Beast. They want to see the new, and they want to see what's the new thing nowadays. Now, yeah, of course you can say repetitioning everything is what most people like, which, when I mean by repetitioning, I mean nostalgia and rinse and repeating. But sometimes that can get annoying. Like, rinse and repeating, it gets annoying sometimes. When newer films try to do something a little bit different, some people want to say, please don't do something too new, or please don't try to take something that's more adult and try to adapt it in a kid's film. Yeah, they mention periods. Well, not really mention periods, but they hint on mentioning periods in that sort of way. But either way, enough about Disney films. What about other films? Why do not other kids appreciate, you know, older films like, let's just say, the Gremlins movies? So why? We don't want to see, we want everything to be CG, we want everything to be, you know, not practical? Because let me just tell you this, if you're ever going to do a Gremlins 3, you need to make the Gremlins practical. I'm sorry. You're one of those people who are like, no, why can't you just make them CG? It's not the same thing. If you CG something like a gremlin, it's like, what's the point of it? That's the reason why the Gremlins need to be practical effects to interact with actual people. If you just make it CG, then you're just trying to modernize it. And to most people, they don't want it too modernized. They want it to stay the same like the original. Have actual real people be attacked by actual practical effects. But yeah, I'm still trying to get the Blu-rays of these, so I'm trying to save up on those. But I'm just trying to say, some people just don't appreciate, but the special effects look so old, man. Why do people even like this? The special effects are so old. Well, that's why. People appreciate the special effects. It's not about, how you can modernize things. It's because they appreciate it because it's actually happening. Like, the Gremlins look like they're attacking people because, guess what? Those are actual practical effects and actual animatronics. It's not about, how you can modernize it. It's about how you can make it look like it's real and look like a horror movie. That's why. And also, some people like newer animation. Like, take for a good example, Soul Eater, Demon Slayer, all these new animations, My Hero Academia, people like those type of animes because they're new and they have a different way of telling a story and a new way of giving us new special characters. But let me take you to an anime movie, an old 80s anime movie. I still think it's a classic. I still watch it. I'm working on getting the Blu-ray of it. But let me just show you Venus War. You might not know this movie. You might not have heard of this movie. But this movie goes back for the 2D animation or hand-drawn animation. Those who want to correct me from what I talk about the Disney films, yes, hand-drawn animation. But yeah, you can make the argument that, some CG movies are technically hand-drawn, but no, they're still done in a computer and not really hand-drawn. But this movie, hand-drawn. Rough-cutly hand-drawn, and rough-cutly, well, they don't make animes like this anymore. When I mean they don't make animes like this anymore, they don't. They don't. They really don't. But now we get certain anime movies like Dragon Ball Z Broly. Or Dragon Ball Super Broly, let's just call it that. Yeah, that's what they actually call it, but you get what I mean. But now, newer animation doesn't have to be all rough-cutly, but, that's all I can pretty much say to most people. If you like newer animation, that's good. I got nothing against newer animation. But all I'm just trying to say is older animation is more important because people like that in the 80s. Because, they want everything to be all CG and they want everything to be more modernized to the point of fact, like, well, I'm not against CG. I'm not against it. But if you can just CG anything, then practically you just don't have to worry about doing too much work. Good example, I don't have the Blu-ray, and I will never buy the Blu-ray of it, because it can go fuck itself. Poltergeist, the remake. I don't care what you can say to me. There never was a Poltergeist remake. There never was a Poltergeist remake. It never happened, and actually looking at it, it never happened. So why do people appreciate newer films, but they don't appreciate older films? Well, let me tell you this. Don't go into a newer film not knowing what it's based on. Because you go and do that, you're just gonna wind up saying, so why does that work? Why would that work? Why would they need to do that? And they'd be like, is that important? Is that supposed to be important? Like, some people just go into movies and just not bother to see the original films. Like, one dude just comes in Avengers Infinity War not watching the older Avengers movie. Like, don't do that! Don't just go into a newer film not seeing the older films, because it's just stupid. You're just gonna ask the dumb question. So why does Tony Stark does this? Why does Tony Stark has that? And why do they now have Spider-Man now? I mean, wasn't Spider-Man always in the Avengers? Or like, don't watch newer films without watching the older films. You don't just go into something that's, a big hype thing. Your excuse is, well, I never had a chance to see the older films. Like, see the older films. Get Disney Plus, guys. Get Disney Plus. Or, better yet, buy the Blu-rays. Come on now. That's why they're here. Come on. That's why people buy Blu-rays to catch up. Don't be a dumbass and just say, I just didn't have a chance to watch the older films because I never had the time. You have all the time in the world. Yeah, I know I just referenced James Bond, but you have all the time in the world to see the older films, because good God, you have all the time in the world. Depending who you are, if you're a teenager, 20-something-year-old guy, or something. Or you just one of those people who just decide, I'm just not going to go to the movies ever again. Because, God, you need to see some older films to understand the newer films. That's it. So, with that being said, Vertical Spy, outro.
Yo, Steve Bloom here, voice of Spike Spiegel. Remember to subscribe and get vertical.